Welcome back to the We Power podcast, the We Power broadcast. And you already know we have another exciting show for you today. We're going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, something that has found me versus me finding it. And if you've been with me long enough, you already know that the theme of our show is being able to identify what works for you. You see, here at We Power Success, we believe that one person's noble passion can be the solution to the next person's problem. And our goal is simply to expose the passions in people that we can expose solutions to our community. What makes this show special is I have a special, exciting guest. And actually, the person that is in the studio today is 99.9% responsible for me being in coaching. And it's a great friend, great mentor, great man of God. And so I'm going to welcome to the show my good friend, my mentor, my coach, Mr. Bud Ruby. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Phil. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, and I would be remiss if I didn't say how flattered I am about the things that you said, especially being a man of God. And as being a man of God, the words that come from me to you come from Him.
Amen.
So I'm glad to have the opportunity to do that. If it means something to your audience, that's fine. And of course, a coach, one of the main things a coach wants to do is to give the person he's working with the opportunity to begin to solve the challenges that they have in their lives. And as we will discuss on down the road, I'm sure, the biggest challenge is how do we make changes in our lives? Change is hard.
Yes, change is definitely hard. And as we were talking off air, change is happening all the time. Change is happening with every tick of the clock. I like to start out by asking you, as you know, we tag the theme of our show, being able to identify what works for you. First question would be, you're one of the best coaches that I know, and as I said before, you're 99.9% for the reason for me being in coaching. Coaching found me. I didn't necessarily find it. But how did you identify that coaching worked for you?
When I came out of a spiritual experience about 22 years ago, the message that I came away with was that God wanted me to serve people as He served us. Now, at the time, I didn't know exactly what that meant. But a couple of years later, I was invited to be an employee for a coaching company simply because a friend of mine thought that I was a good coach. As it turned out, the 4 classes I was supposed to attend, after the first one, the training director said, "Come into my office. You don't need to come to the next 3. You're a natural. You're ready to go. Here's a list of 50 people for you to start calling." Well, after I picked my jaw up off the floor, I thought, okay, now what? Then it came to me that now what really didn't matter. Because now what meant, what did the person I was talking to, what did they need? Okay. It has to be about the needs of the person you're working with. If you put yourself in front of them and in front of their needs and try and make it about you, then you just end up talking. And every coach or person that's called themselves a coach, I've always asked them almost from the get-go, what do you think the most important thing a coach can do to become a good coach? And the ones that have been doing it long enough come up with the right answer. And to me, the right answer is to listen. To listen to what the person across from you is saying, because they in listening to what they're saying, you will learn what their challenges are. You will learn some about what their needs are, and you can begin to formulate a plan that will allow the client or friend. I do a lot of this pro bono for people I know, people who can't afford, just people who come to me and they are they feel overwhelmed.
Right. Let me ask you, with that being said, what makes a two-part question?
Okay.
What makes a good coach, and what makes a good listener?
Two very good questions. What makes a good coach? I think I've already kind of covered that in saying that a good coach thinks of the other person first, does not tell the other person what to do. And one of the differences that I point out to my clients is I'm here to support you, not necessarily to help you. Sometimes people take the connotation of help. It's that you're going to do something for them.
Okay, let's break that down, because in our relationship, I remember that was kind of a tug of war for me for a minute with you, in expecting you, in the definition of help, that you would do it for me. And so go a little bit deeper in this support side and the help side. You're not here to help them, but you're here to support them.
Well, let's take what you just got there saying. Your initial thought was that I was going to help you do stuff. I was going to do stuff for you.
Right.
If I do stuff for you, that doesn't teach you how to do things for yourself.
I learned.
Okay. And so what I try and do is to tell people that I'm going to give you the tools necessary, or ask you the questions necessary, or get you to do the work yourself that's necessary for you to learn how to overcome the challenges that you're having. It doesn't do any good for me to do it. You will hear as we continue to go through this, and if we do follow-ups, that one of the terms is called buy-in.
Buy-in, yeah.
And buy-in simply means that, yeah, I'm buying into that. I agree with that. Yeah. A person is going to buy into their ideas if they're good, and sometimes if they're not, that's what causes the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But if they buy into the things they need to do to make their business better, their life better, their relationships better, they've come up with the answers themselves through the questions I've asked them and the things I've gotten them to think about. They're going to buy into what they think is right faster than they're going to buy in, or maybe never will they buy into what I have to say. But I've given them a direction to go in to figure out how to get them in the position of buying into it, having confidence, I guess. Having confidence in what they're doing is working.
Right. Now, when you talk about buy-in, how do you get a person to buy in? If you see something that you know that's going to work for them, but they're not necessarily buying in, how do you go about getting, I know the answer, but how do you go about getting them to come around to buying in, making that purchase?
Sure. Well, let me go back and push back on a little bit on, I don't necessarily know what they need. Okay. I don't necessarily know how to get them to buy in until I have a chance to speak with them. Mm-hmm. Okay. The way you get somebody to buy in is to do the best you can to encourage them and give them the courage to go out and try things. Okay. We can all sit back here and say, well, let's see, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do this. And talk ourselves out of doing things before we ever try them. So we really have no proof that doing it or not doing it is going to work. So I just try and plant seeds. There's a saying that people that go out and attend spiritual stuff and go to church and listen to what God has to say, and it's in the Word every once in a while, knows that all we do is plant the seed. God does the heavy lifting.
Right.
He's the one doing the fertilizing and the watering and the culture.
Yeah, He brings the increase.
Exactly.
Yeah, some plant, some water, but God brings the increase.
That's right. He brings the crops to bear.
Today.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Today, coaching seems to be everywhere, all over the internet. There are people out there that have coaching programs, coaching services, coaching challenges, but coaching it's almost like a fad. But coaching is nothing new. It's only been exposed and magnified because of the platform across the internet, with so many coaching options out there. Why is coaching important?
The importance of coaching is decided upon by the person that you're working with. They're the ones that, I don't go out on the street corner and say, hey, pal, come over here, you need some coaching. First of all, they're going to run away screaming or call a cop or do something. They have to need, again, it really does get back to change, and I hate to keep beating that drum, but they know that something in their life, whatever part of that life might be, again, work, personal, whatever, something's not going the way they either want it to go or it needs to go. And they either have tried things that have not worked, or they're just afraid to try to do anything. So they just, they wait around. I'm sure you've known people who are very spiritual and say, God will show me the way. Christianity believes that while God is in control, He does give us a modicum of control over our lives in smaller decisions. Okay, am I going to go to the store and buy this? Am I going to go see my friend today? God is always in control of everything, but He's not in control of everything.
Right.
Okay. So, to try to get people to understand they need coaching is not something that the coach does.
Okay.
It's just like you. You said you weren't looking for coaching when you and I became friends and started sitting down over lunch and then other things. Suddenly it came to you that maybe I had something worthwhile to say. And I give you credos because you had the courage to try some of these things.
Right.
You were having some challenges with family, you were having challenges in work, and we talked a lot about those things. And you see somebody sometimes sitting there stroking their chin with a puzzled look on their face, saying, I wonder if I can do that or not. I wonder why I haven't done that. Okay, and coaches, whether you get the physical look at somebody being confused, a coach will come to know. A coach who cares about the person will come to know what the challenge is. Okay. Now, when I start coaching someone right away, one of my first questions to them is, how can I best support you? In fact, there's a term called an elevator speech.
Okay.
It means when you get on an elevator and you're going from the first floor to the second floor, and someone asks you what you do, you have something to prepare that is short and concise and lets the person know what you do. And my elevator speech is, what I do is support people's efforts to make changes in their lives they say they want to make.
So say that one more time. So that elevator pitch should be short and concise, that you can get your delivery out within 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah, before the elevator stops at the next floor.
Okay. And you said that your elevator pitch is?
I support people's efforts to make changes in their lives that they say they want to make. And I do put emphasis on they say they want to make. I don't tell them what they need to change. I don't know what they need to change. They need to tell me that.
Wow, that's great. You support their efforts to make change in what they say they want to make change.
Correct.
Okay.
Well said.
And that's important. So how do you know when you have been successful in doing that?
By asking questions.
Great. Asking questions. And that's
and that, let me say that asking questions comes from doing the right kind of listening.
Okay, that's where I was going to go. So, in asking questions, and one of the, if I can just be transparent, one of the things that I love about you and also hate about you is you ask questions. You're constantly asking questions. And so, asking questions, what is the power in a coach and having the ability to ask questions? And I got a follow-up question behind that question.
What gets back to what I said before is that I felt that I was doing what God wanted me to do, and that's serve other people. Well, I can't serve other people if I'm thinking about myself or talking about myself or believe that what I have to say is more important than what somebody else has to say.
Okay. And so therefore, you're asking questions. Now, the power in asking questions is magnified when you ask the right questions, and you seem to always have the skill or ability to know how to ask the right questions that pulls out, or at least for me, puts me in a position to where when you ask the particular question, it kind of hits home. It kind of makes the light come on, and it's like, why didn't I think about that? What goes into asking the right question?
Is listening to what the person has to say back to you. Invariably, the way that I work is that my questions come back from the responses to other questions I've asked. For example, a guy says, "Man, I've got to get out of this job. I've got to find something else." And my response will be, "That's not unusual. There are a lot of people who want to better themselves." And so I applaud you for knowing that you don't want to do this, but yet you haven't quite figured out what you do want to do.
Right.
All right. So the first thing that I need to find out is, what have you done to figure out what you want to do?
Wow. Okay.
Okay. If you want to do something else, what is that something else?
Okay.
If you don't know what that is, then you're going to wander around, and you're never going to move forward, and you're going to 20 years from now still be doing what you're doing today.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And I see we're going to have to make this a regular segment of the We Power podcast. I want to jump back on the listening piece. I do know in the body of work that you do talk about a special listening technique, and we're going to touch base on that just a little bit in the time that we have left. But I want you to talk to our audience about contextual listening. What is the skill of contextual listening?
Okay. I like to do that by also explaining what contextual listening, what it's not.
What it's not, right? Okay.
First of all, I look at it as being 3 levels of listening.
Okay.
Okay. First is the person starts responding to whatever you've asked, and after 3 or 4 words, you've got to figure it out. You know what it's going to take to fix this person. Okay, and I guarantee you have no proven idea what it's going to take to fix this person after a few words.
So what you're saying is, what contextual listening is not, is somebody listening to a person after a couple of words, they've already jumped into the answer.
That's right. They believe they know better than the person.
Right.
What that person needs after just a few words or a couple sentences. Okay. And that does not work.
Right.
Okay. And it also shows. Remember, we're trying to build transparency with our client or our friend, and we're trying to build a relationship. It also leads the person to believe that we don't care about what they've got to say, that we only care about what we have to say and how we feel. You need to fix it.
Right.
Okay, and that's not what coaching is. The other level is we now hear the words that the person is saying, and we hear them out, and we don't go into the fixing.
Okay.
We're kind of in between of the 3 steps of contextual listening. We're kind of in the middle. Now, we've made an improvement because we haven't taken the godlike aspect that I can fix anything. Okay. We're now really wanting to hear what the other person has to say. Okay. And the 3rd step, which to me is the most important step, is we begin to hear the feelings behind the words. Okay. A person says, man, I am just, I'm a lost ball in tall weeds. Sorry, golfers understand that up here. Why not? I'm wandering around out here in the tall grass and I don't know where I'm going or what I'm looking for. Okay. So we need to discover what that looks like. And we can, it's not only verbally shown, but it's physically shown. I mean, a guy will slump in his chair, his head will look down. Sometimes it's because he's embarrassed. He hasn't done enough. He knows he hasn't done enough. And he really hasn't wanted to talk to anyone about it. Well, a lot of times he doesn't want to talk to him. Coaching is like what financial planners used to be.
Okay.
If you had a insurance license for automobiles and you had a life insurance license, you'd hang up a sign that said financial planner. Well, baloney. I was a financial planner. I know what it takes to be a financial planner, and it ain't that.
So if you had some insurance products that you were offering or selling, you would put yourself up under the financial planner category.
Sure.
And you're saying that's not the case.
I'm no more a financial planner than you are. Okay. So, and there will be people out there who call themselves coaches that
are not coaches.
They're in it for something else. Okay, whether they think they're in it for the money or whether they're trying to inflate their own egos by coming up with what they think are all the answers. Well, there's a myriad of things that could be the reason someone calls them a coach.
What would help someone identify this is not a good coach for me?
If they're doing all the talking. Okay. If they're doing all the talking and not listening, and they're not asking you questions, then they're not involved in you. Okay. The best way that we can support people's efforts is to learn who they are, and we can't learn anything if we're doing all the talking. Okay, because we're just clang, rattling around. Okay, I know more than you do, and so I'm going to talk, and you're going to sit there and listen. Well, that's, pardon the expression, BS. Okay. If I don't know you, how can I possibly offer ways to support your efforts to make the changes you say you want to make?
In your coaching, have there been times where somebody's come to you for coaching and you've identified that it's not a good fit? I wouldn't be a good coach.
Absolutely. Because there have been a few times where I have essentially, in quotation marks, our air quotes, fired a client because I knew I wasn't for that client. Okay. What the client wanted to talk about was more what a psychologist or someone professionally trained is better equipped to handle this person, because this person wants to either dwell in the past or blame the past for the situation that they're in. When I hear that, a response I had is, look, I'm not the person to deal with your past. Okay. If you can learn that the past is the past, and to get any better and to get to where you want to be and make the changes you want to be, you have to start from now. Okay. So we're looking at present and future,
not the past.
Present in terms of what you might learn or take off from me. Okay, and the future, what you're going to do about it.
Okay. Great. Bud Ruby, you are you're my coach. If someone wanted to reach out and find out more about how to at least see if you're a good fit for a coach for them, are you still coaching? Are you looking for new clients? If so, how might they find you?
I'm always looking to serve people as God serves me. Okay. They can reach out to me through an email address, which is wruby3 at SBC, that's Sam Baker Charlie, SBCglobal.net.
Okay. And you're on Facebook or Twitter?
No, I'm not on any of that stuff. I have stayed off of social media because, in my opinion, there's a lot more untruths in social media than there is truth. And a lot of times it's more convenient, easier to say, yeah, that's right, instead of saying, well, now hold the fort, Richard. That's what my father used to say, hold the fort, Richard. I need to think about this. So I need to go to find some place where there's a differing opinion. Okay. And being my age, in my 70s, I don't really have, well, I do have a friend who I would call a mentor, but I have to search this out on my own. And a lot of times I end up coaching myself by saying, okay, if you want this to happen, what the heck have you got to do about it?
What do you got to do about it?
That's right.
Asking the right question.
Yeah, and if I'm not willing to do anything about it, then I shouldn't be willing to believe anything's going to change.
Okay. One more time, your email address?
Ruby, that's WRUBY, the number 3, at sbcglobal.net.
Great. You have been listening to the We Power podcast, the We Power broadcast, and my special guest, Bud Ruby, and I'll have his contact information down in the comments. I pray and hope this show has been a blessing to you and that you've heard something that's encouraged you to take action, take the next step. We want to thank our sponsors, Victories Insurance Agency, LLC, Life Financial Solutions, and Freebirds General Contracting. And as always, you can find their contact information in the comments. Thank you for tuning in to the We Power podcast.